3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and this is Rapid Reviews.
The rapidest of reviews.
Rapid Reviews is where we talk about every game we played in the previous month, so that is February, a short month, although we got a decent amount of good games.
46 games.
46 games in a short month.
It's not bad.
Yeah, but we talk about every game. We like do a quick little review, quick like what we thought of it, and yeah, that's it. So let's go ahead and get into it. Not much else to explain. What was I don't know if it's the first thing we played, but like what was
The
the first
most played thing was Praga Kaput Rainy.
You
Now,
have played a lot of Praga Kaput Rainy.
mostly because of me, because I've soloed this twice, and then we played it
Twice, yeah.
a couple times. So Praga Kaput Rainy is a new game by Vladimir Suki where you are building up Prague, essentially. You can be building buildings, you can work on the
Bridges
hunger wall,
out of eggs.
make bridges out of yolks. So in this game, you're kind of doing a bunch of different things using this cool action selection system that will give you access to one of two actions. There's 6 types of actions you can do on your turn. And so this is one of those games that, like, there's not a ton of different types of actions, but what you want to do, the directions you want to go, how you want to use your precious resources is deep.
It's like the epitome of like, I know what I can do. I don't know what I should or want to do. It's that kind of game, which I like ultimately. But
in this game, really, I dig it because there's so many like little bonuses. When you take an action tile from this wheel, essentially, there's these little bonuses that are on the wheel. So it's like, well, maybe I want to take this action tile because I really want to get an egg over here. But if I take this action tile, I can't go down the King's Road where I'd use the eggs, but I can maybe use the egg on the next turn. You could like do that all day.
Yeah.
But I really like it.
It's really fun.
Like Praga Kaput Rainy makes me have to rethink my best of 2020 list.
You were
like,
saying that.
This might be my number one.
You were saying that. Yeah, I really like it. I'm not good at it,
Well,
which doesn't hurt it
at
at all. But it's like I still feel like I'm trying to figure it out. But I really, really like the action selection system. I think it's really, really well done. But yeah, Prague is great. It's really, really fun. If you like those kind of Vladimir Suki big, heavy Euro games, it's really good.
I know. Speaking of big, heavy Euro games, Abandoned All Artichokes is a tiny little deck building game, which I really, really enjoy.
You build bridges out of artichokes in this one.
Build bridges out of artichokes because they're structurally sound. You can put one on the other,
Gotta
invert
put
it.
the heart in the center of the grid. You know?
Dude, it's just strong. So Abandoned All Artichokes is a deck building game. Kind of a filler game. You can play it pretty quickly where you have a deck of artichokes and you're just trying to basically draw a hand of cards and have no artichokes in there. So you're using this kind of classic deck building mechanisms with all these different vegetable cards that all do just a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
You can compost things, which is trashing cards. There's a bunch of things that allow you to steal cards from your opponents, trade cards, pass things around. It kind of has a bunch of different little actions. And it's just quick
charming
and sweet.
It's just charming. It's a little bit of kind of like, I was gonna say push your luck. Push your luck's wrong, but it's just there is a bit of luck because like, you could just draw well and stuff like that. But it's so short and so sweet and like it's just charming. It's just a charming little game that does have a little bit of strategy to it. And again, it's a small little filler game, but it is one of those ones where I'm like, in terms of fillers, it has become one of my go-to ones. I'm like, we got like 10 minutes. Let's play a Abandoned All Artichokes. I really like that game. Right? It's super fun. I really, really like it. It's very, very cute.
Yeah. We also got a chance to try Bruno Catala's Micropolis.
We did get to choose Micropolis. This game, I always wanted to play because I know like Z from the Dice Tower really likes it. We're also big Bruno Catala fans.
Yeah.
And have seen it a bunch of times, never gotten it. You found it on sale, like
for crazy
super
cheap.
sale.
Yeah.
And so you're like, screw it, let's just try it. You know, if not, we'll just donate it or whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine at the very least, right? Like you're like, it's gonna be at least
It'll be
fine.
worth the amount of money I paid for it.
And it is. It's a fun little game. It's this kind of like you're building out a little anthill. And you're essentially drafting these tiles. These tiles are going to have different things like fruit on them, different kinds of ants. And those ants can be like warrior ants or like queens and stuff. And you're essentially trying to build these like kind of paths in a big circle. And it's really, really fun. And it's got a little bit of thinkiness to it with the puzzle and like each, what were they called? Galleries? Is that what they're called?
Each gallery kind of each little
so
tunnel.
each tunnel is a gallery, essentially. And so you can only have one queen per gallery, and you score a certain amount of points for how big the gallery is. So you got to make sure like you're not putting 2 queens in the same area. And there's a nice little puzzle to
like
it.
spatial stuff to
but it's super quick, super simple.
Yeah.
And it's a great little game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute, fun, kind of perfect Bruno Catala level game where it's not
one of his lighter games,
family friendly, and but some cool little puzzle bits to it.
It's cool.
Yeah, I really dug it. Another game which we want to talk about specifics, but we played a couple more months of Pandemic Legacy Season 0.
Yeah.
It's getting intense. stuff's going
intense,
down.
Yeah, it's really fun though. I'm really enjoying it.
We're not going to say much about it, but one thing we do want to take a moment here, because we are in March now. We are, speaking of Pandemic Legacies, we're going to be playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1, the original Pandemic Legacy, live on the air on March 13th. So on 3/13, the Brothers Murph save the world.
Brother Murph saving the world.
Or it comes crashing down. Either way, you get to watch it live with us. So join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/thebrothersmurph to watch us play Pandemic Legacy.
We're doing the whole thing in one sitting.
All in one sitting. It's going to be super duper fun.
Super fun. And there'll be a video on our YouTube channel the next week about it. And so wherever you end up watching it, it'll be in both places.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
It's going to be super duper cool. But we also played Potion Explosion.
I love Potion Explosion,
It's
man.
great.
It's like a little app game, and it works.
Yeah.
It's just good. This is a game where you have like a marble contraption
that
has all these little chutes and stuff like that. Yeah, a marble dispenser. And you essentially take out a color of marble. There's 4. There's red, blue, yellow, and black marbles, which are different ingredients or whatever. So you pull out a marble, and then the rest of them slide down. So the marble you pull out, you just put on your thing, and then the marbles that slide and hit into each other, if they're the same color, you also get to take those. So you basically want to grab something and they'll smack, they'll explode, you grab those, and hopefully you can make some kind of chain where you can end up with like 6 or 7 marbles. And then you have all these different potions which take the marbles, the different colors of marbles, and once you fill in all the potion, you then have that potion, and the potion will give you points at the end of the game. It also give you a special little power because all the potions have an ability that you then can drink at any point, and when you drink, it's a one-time use, but it might allow you to like get more marbles. It might allow you to put the wrong color marbles on a potion, and it's basically ways to then fill more potions and get points that way.
Chain it all together.
And it just works. It's so fun and smooth and good, and there's like 8 or 9 different kinds of potions, so you can switch them out each time, so there's not always the exact same ones, but it's just, in terms of like a gateway game, this is an absolute slam dunk because it's so tactile.
Yeah.
The gimmick of the marbles is really cool and makes a lot of sense for the game. And then on top of that, you're like, hey, you like games like Candy Crush? This is kind of like that.
That was the first thing we thought when we saw it. We're like, oh, it's kind of like a...
And it just works. It just sings. Yeah, it really, really, really works well, and it's very, very fun. It's got a really good app, too.
Yeah.
It's just great.
It's awesome. We also played Res Arcana on Board Game Arena. I want to like this game, but I'm so incredibly bad at it that
I'm kind of the same boat.
I hate it. And it's not the game's fault. I really suck at it. It's this tiny little engine building game where you only get, I think, 10 cards or 8 cards, and you draft them. Normally, you draft these cards, and from that, you're going to build this little but robust engine. So I love that idea. I love the idea that with these 8 cards, you can build this engine, but my problem with this is I can always like get an idea in my head of like, I'm gonna do this with these cards, and then I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And like, it's completely a me thing, but I'm like, to this point, I'm just like, dude, if I never play Res Arcana again, I'll probably be fine.
That's kind of where I am with it.
I just, every time I'm like, cool, it was 10 to 9 to 8 to 2. I got 2 points, solid. You know, it just doesn't work out, man, and I'm just jealous of everyone's success.
I'm kind of the same boat with Res Arcana, where it's like, I think it's very good. It's a very good little engine builder. But to me, it's like, it's just never stands out in my mind. Like, I've played it a couple times now, and each time I played it, like I played it this month. I actually didn't play it with you. I played it with someone else this month on Board Game Arena, and the Board Game Arena is very good.
Works really well.
But I was just kind of like, okay, that was fun. That was a good little engine builder, and it's a good little engine builder that I never need to have. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's like,
played it, I was like, I'm getting this instantly. Now I'm almost like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I don't dislike it, but it doesn't grab me that much. I don't know why. It just doesn't. I'm more than happy to play it.
Sure.
Like our friend Shay loves that game, and like I'm sure I'd be more than happy to play it. But this is a game where like I don't feel the need to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all right.
But that's fine.
Speaking of apps I played, I got the app for Small World finally, which I'd like seen that I thought like maybe it wasn't available, but then I saw it was available, so I'm like, I'm gonna get it because I really enjoy Small World. It's really great in an app form. It just works really quickly.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that game.
I love Small World
because it's just so fun to get your little race with your little power, go out on the board, kind of take them as far as you can, have them go into a client, get a new power, try to take over the board.
Is it just the base game?
You can buy some. You can buy extra.
Yeah, I think I would love to have Small World on like the Switch.
Oh my gosh!
Because then I would actually play it. I think. I feel like I wouldn't play it on my phone, but I would play it on the Switch.
Because you just drag and go boop boop.
I'm sure it is. I just don't play games on my phone very much, so it's like I would play. Small World's the kind of game like if I'm sitting in bed, I want to play my Switch before I go to bed or something like that. Pop up. Like I'll pop up like Wingspan. I do that a lot. Like I'll play a little Wingspan or something like that. I like because I don't want to play like a big video game. But like but I don't like really playing games on my phone. So I would love, and maybe it is on the Switch. I haven't checked, to be fair.
We should check.
But there are more games that come out on like the app versions that come out on the Switch is great for me because I would just love to play it on the Switch.
Yeah. I recommend checking out the app if you're into it because it's satisfying in the same way that the real physical game is, which we love as well. We played and got Whistle Mountain, which I quite liked. My fiance did not, but she's wrong. It's so good. It's a really interesting game that, like, this was one that we picked up because I had just, like, sort of seen a few things about it and then started seeing pictures of it. And this was one that I really got pulled in by the look of it all.
Yeah.
Because you have all these scaffoldings and things. You're building these airships. These are really chunky wooden airships and stuff. The production of this, I was like, this looks amazing.
Yeah, the production's nuts.
And then I started to hear a little bit about the gameplay. And you're like, well, there's this kind of like what you place, you know, your airships next to. You can collect resources. You can make use of these machines, or you can build stuff and all that. I was like, man, there's some like polyomino tiles. Check. We like that kind of thing. There's this kind of like combo tastic-y thing where if you put it in your airship in a really prime spot, you can do a ton of stuff. Yeah. I'm like, I like that. It feels very combo-y. So we ended up picking it up, and I really enjoy this game.
Yeah.
I thought it was rad.
I was blown away with how much I loved it. I was like over the moon when we were done playing it. It
was so fantastic. So I showed it to Karen, and she was just like, I think she'll like it on the next play. Because like there's kind of a lot. It's a really simple game. There's only 2 types of actions you can do, but again, where you place your airships and stuff can be very.
And it can be a little bit mean.
You can be a little bit mean because you can definitely get.
But I loved it. The idea of placing your airships to get resources and where you put those and where you put these buildings. There's so many different kinds of buildings that do so many different kinds of things. Not to mention, everyone starts with like an asymmetric power, which is small but does make a difference.
Oh yeah.
And then you're constantly getting these technologies which just give you a special power. So by the end of it, you're just like this weird like. You have so many different things you can do, and I had this really great engine where, like, anytime I did this, I got a small building, and anytime I got a small building, I got this, and you can just
start creating these combos.
The combos are bananas in this game, and it's really, really fun and satisfying.
Yeah, so I really like that. You're building up these scaffoldings as like this canyon is flooding essentially, and trying to build scaffolding and put machines up before they get waterlogged and such. So it's just a really interesting, cool game with a fantastic production. I really dug Whistle Mountain.
Liked it a lot.
Another one that would change my rankings of 2020 games a bit. So
probably,
if I were to do best games of 2020 right now, my list would be different.
It's something we could do. Go back and revisit it, do a quick thing, you know.
We absolutely should. We also played Baron Park, which was delightful as always. We played with the Bad News Bears expansion, so we had monorails and grizzly
bears. Which I really do like
there.
that expansion a lot.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Just gives a little bit extra stuff to think about while keeping Baron Park very much a Phil Walker Harding praise be.
Praise be, Phil Walker Harding, praise be.
Delicious, puzzly game. Baron Park we played in part because Nick is actually recreating Baron Park in a 3D world in Planet Zoo. You're creating a real functioning zoo out of a game of Baron Park, which is
so I play a lot of Planet Zoo. I've I've played over 100 hours of it, which is bad. I haven't had it very long. To date. So
there's gonna be more by the end of it.
But nonetheless, I really like Planet Zoo a lot. It's become one of my favorite games. I really, really, really enjoy it. And the customization, the creativity of what you can build in there is bananas. People build insane things. And so I was playing it one time on stream, and someone was like, "You should make Baron Park in Planet Zoo," and I was just like. I was like, that's silly. And then more and more I thought about it, and I was like, well, all the animals from Baron Park, for the most part, are in Planet Zoo. And I was like, and you can customize this game, so I could probably make it look a lot like that. And so now I'm in the process of building it. On our Twitter, we posted some pictures of and it's actually going really well. And I'm really excited for it.
The things you built so far, I'm like, they look super cool, and they do when you zoom out and look at the top, looks like Baron Park. Like, it is real.
It's cool. So so that's something down. But Baron Park, the game, praise be, Phil Harding is great.
As always. I soloed Carnegie on Board Game Arena. It's a game that we played and then ended up backing on Kickstarter, and it'll arrive.
You have any idea what was happening?
In theory, here's the thing. I knew what I was doing. In terms of how the solo works, because it's all automated, I have no idea. And I did lose to the solo. I got close to winning, but I didn't. In this game, you are building up your kind of network in the states. You can do a bunch of different things. So you can build these buildings and stuff in different states and kind of build like a little bit of a network route throughout different regions in the east and the west and the south and such like that. That will give you kind of different incomes. You can build up your kind of factory or your different departments, which will give you access to action types. There's basically 4 types of actions. Then within those, you'll activate departments within your building. And so you can kind of customize like the types of actions you can do there. There's just a lot of different things. You can make these charitable donations, which become endgame scoring points. You have to pay your money that you've been earning, give away your money essentially to gain access to these different scoring options. There's just a ton to explore. I really enjoyed my second play of it. It was fun to play solo on Board Game Arena because I'm like, I don't have to worry now about how the AI works. They can just do their thing, and I can just sort of sit and wonder about like, oh, I wonder if I do this, what would this do?
That's fair.
And I don't think I played particularly well, but it was super fun. I really have been enjoying checking out that game. We also, or rather, I played with my fiance. Played a game of Castles of Tuscany.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Which is becoming for her and I kind of go-to late night game because we both know it at this point. She generally crushes me at that, which she really enjoys, making me like just hurt inside. Makes sense. So this game is kind of a card, we call it kind of Ticket to Ride mixed with Castles of Burgundy. It's got a lot of kind of overlap with Castles of Burgundy in terms of you're placing these hexagonal tiles down and adjacency matters. Each of the tiles themselves trigger bonuses, all kind of similar to Castles of Burgundy, but it uses cards and colors to place things down versus dice and numbers. And it goes super fast. I just really enjoy
It's really fun.
the kind of like you build up your little, you can kind of do it. So now when you draw cards, you get more cards. So when you get workers, you get more workers. You can kind of build up that little engine there for yourself. And it's just easy.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't overcomplicate itself. I really enjoy it. Castle of Tuscany is just fun.
It's fun. Yeah, it's good. I like it a lot.
Next we played Caverna.
Caverna. We did like Caverna on stream. Yeah, Caverna is real good. Caverna is real good.
I've been enjoying it more as we've been playing it more, just because we have, you know, we're getting more familiar with all the pieces, all the different things and stuff, and it's great.
Yeah, I really like Caverna. I mean, it's the big Uwe Rosenberg game. More and more, like I'm like, man, I think Uwe might be my favorite designer at this point, just especially because of his big games. We haven't played all of them. We still haven't played Agricola and stuff, although I do want to try it at some point. Yeah. But like all of his games, I've really, really, really enjoyed, and like Caverna just keeps climbing the ranks for me. And Got His Feast for Odin's in my top 10. I think even my top 5, and it's just like
it's the greatest.
It really is, and it's just like I really, really like Caverna a lot. There's so many different options. There's so many routes you can go. The different the actions, I still really love like that every round a new action becomes available, which makes it feel accessible because of the fact that it's like it's not everything. Like one thing about Feast for Odin is you have 60 spaces from round 1. You got 60 spaces. Here you kind of reveal them, and although they're always the same, it's just nice to have them kind of revealed because it makes it so like, okay, in the beginning of the game, I know I can't do any of these things because those actions aren't available yet. So like I can like focus on this, and I really, really enjoy it. And yeah, I just keep wanting to play it more and more and more, honestly,
It's fantastic.
There's so many really want to try the expansions.
I really want to try the expansion. And
there's another one coming out, isn't there?
I think, there's later this year with like goblins or something. I know. Fight. I don't know. It's getting wild. Speaking of goblins and things, we played Claim, which is a 2-player trick-taking game that we actually have a bunch of the. I don't know. We
didn't play Pandemic Legacy that night, and we were just like, let's play some stuff. Yeah,
we play some stuff. So we were.
It is so good. It's my favorite trick-taking game by far.
It's so fun.
By far, it's my favorite trick-taking game.
Yeah, so it's a little trick-taking game that has a bunch of different factions, and you can kind of mix and match to a degree different factions from different sets. There's kind of 2 base games and then 2 or 3 kind of like expansion sets beyond that, and we have most of it, and
we have all of it, I think. Yeah,
and it's so fun to create like 5 little factions you're going to play with, and they all have different powers. There's knights that beat goblins, and then there's trolls that if you lose, you get to collect trolls.
They squish gnomes.
There's unicorns and phoenixes and a billion different things that all have these different abilities. And then you can kind of mix and match, which will create really unique gameplay experiences. Then we played with locations, which add. It added literally a different way to win.
Yeah.
So that was really weird. Like we started finally delving
into that. And you
won
that way.
Yeah, because it was a situation where if you win, if at the end of the game you have more than double the amount of cards, because you're trying to collect cards usually to win the game.
You're trying to collect factions.
Yeah, factions. But if you have more than double the total cards, the other player wins. So I realized that my cards were not that great, so I started going nil style.
I was crushing basically.
And I started throwing off, and then at the end I had like 6 cards, and Nick's like 17. And I was like, boom. So
and I won very handily, but Mike actually ended up winning because I had more than double his cards.
I had a backdoor way to go.
And there's like 18 different of these locations that change stuff up, and then on top of that, there's like so many factions, and then there's like another one that has like heroes in it and all this kind of stuff. It's a game where even if it was just you only have the first claim, it's like there's still tons to explore because again, the factions all work differently and stuff like that. But now there's so many factions and all these other little things that like, man, we're gonna be playing this game forever. I freaking love it. I'm enjoying it so much. Just the weird mix-up of factions, and now we've added in locations. It's just so much fun.
Countless combinations you can put together now.
Yeah, I find it to be so intriguing. Whereas like I like it more than like say like the Crew is probably my second favorite trick-taking game because the Crew, like every game is different, but every game is still the same.
Yeah, the cars.
Whereas like this, it's like depending on what faction you're playing, it's wildly different. Yeah. And it's like it's if you like trick taking and you like to play 2-player games, get Claim. It is incredible.
It's really good. We also play Clans of Caledonia, which is just
dry,
fantastic, dry. You're up in Scotland for all the water in the game. Yeah, pretty dry. But you're putting out all these different little different.
You're building a little network and stuff, little engine,
different productions essentially out onto the board
to fulfill
contracts.
Making some cheese and some whiskey.
Making cheese and whiskey out of milk. Milk whiskey's good stuff, man. By the way, you gotta try it. You gotta try it. As non-drinkers, we can attest to that. It's good stuff. You're putting out all these different pieces onto this board to create all this production for yourself to ultimately fulfill contracts. So it's kind of simple in that way where it's like...
It is, yeah.
Spend your money to get stuff out.
And everything is the same. It's like you're putting... This is how much this building costs. You have to pay that plus wherever you're putting it. And that's where it is. You have to be adjacent to something you already own, yada, yada, yada. It's like, it's pretty simple, but there's a lot going on. And it's really fun.
Like, it's pretty deep in terms of all the stuff you can do, but it's really... I found, like, when it was explained to me, I was like, this is actually weirdly simple in terms of, like, how stuff works.
Yeah.
Super easy. You pay your money, and then when you're going to your production at the end of the round, basically, once you put pieces out, you'll uncover symbols on your player board. And it's as simple as, like, all the symbols showing, just get all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can
get 2 milk and 4 wheat and yada, yada, yada.
You can convert your wheat and your milk into cheese and whiskey and bread and stuff, but everything on the player board is really well laid out, so it makes it very clear how it works.
And you're just fulfilling contracts. This contract takes 2 whiskey, a bread, and a cheese. And you're like, okay, I need to get those so I can fill that contract. It's really, really, really fun. It's got kind of that Clemens Franz dry Euro look, so it turned me off for a long time. And then like we played it, and it's potential like top 10 for me, I think.
Yeah.
Not right now, but like I think it could eventually get there someday. Maybe.
It's so rad. It's so rad.
It's possible.
Speaking of adorable and awesome games and stuff, we played Cora Quest. We got to support Dan and Cora in playing Cora Quest.
Not that they needed it.
Not that they needed it. Like, we played on the launch day of their campaign. They ran a very successful Kickstarter, and by the time we got to our stream, we're like, well, they've already funded 4 times over their budget that they were hoping for and stuff. They absolutely crushed it because it's literally a father and daughter created dungeon crawling game for families. All featuring art by children that has been colored in and sort of like smoothed over by Gary King, who's awesome. So you have this like wonderfully accessible dungeon crawler that literally looks like, as you're playing it, it feels like kids playing pretend. And coming up with stories in the moment, like what would a kid, you know, what would they think up in this situation, and what would goblins and orcs look like and stuff. And so it feels very kiddish. Like it feels just imaginative, bright, and fun. I was just so charmed by it. I was just like so charmed by the idea, and it was awesome to play it and be like, this is actually a playable game.
Absolutely.
It's really
it's fun
rad,
too,
man.
For like kids like that, it's super fun. And it's fun enough for adults in terms of like there's stuff to do, but like especially if you have kids, man, I'm sure there's some kind of late pledge thing. Get on it. It's so cool. I mean, it's so cool.
If you have kids, if you know someone with kids, if you have a library or something,
if you are a child yourself,
that you could donate a game to. If you're a child yourself,
that's the thing is like real talk. Like donate it if you can. Like God, a lot of people bought like 2 copies. They're like, I'm gonna give it to like a family shelter, or something like that. Like God, they need games at those kind of places, and this is like absolutely perfect for something like a family shelter. You know, like
cool.
Oh man, it'd be amazing.
It was really fun, y'all.
It's fun. It's really
just,
cool.
Like, charming as can be.
Yeah.
We also played Cryo, which is a new game coming out at the end of the month. By Z-Man Games. We're actually going to be having a full playthrough of it shot at the Game House in Glendale, California. That'll be coming out later this month at the end of the month, right with the launch. It's this cool game where you are... Basically, you've shipwrecked on this planet.
Yeah, the theme is really cool.
This like this freezing planet, freezing cold, and so you are trying to like cobble together machines and vehicles out of the broken pieces of the ship and get your different crew pods down to these caverns that are beneath the surface of the planet because like the sun is setting and like once the sun sets,
cold.
it's like super cold.
Done.
Like, everyone's done. So it's just kind of race against time to get underground, and it has this cool action selection system. You're basically putting these drones out of your workers. and you'll put it down onto a spot that has up to 4 actions around it. You'll choose one of the 4 actions, or 3, or however many are available, to take. And you can be gaining resources, you can be making use of different action spots and stuff like that. You can build some sort of machines by collecting resource tiles so that when you bring your drones back to your board, you can activate and stuff and kind of build up your engine and get upgrades. There's a bunch of things to do. We didn't play, there's a couple of like very key things that we played wrong.
By the end of it, we're all kind of like, I feel like I should have liked that a little bit more than I did. And then we've realized since then that oh, we played a lot of stuff wrong.
Yeah, like, so we were playing it because we are going to be filming it upcoming, so we need to like learn the game. And there's a couple things where I was like, we like basically were overpaying for everything.
That would have been way better if we'd done it that way.
It made it so much harder to do. So I'm like, tight, because I was like, man, this seems like a lot of work. And then like when you saw that, I was like, okay,
it was a lot of work.
We just didn't read the thing that said like we just didn't.
Yeah, so we just messed up a couple stuff, which happens, you know.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to play that again, and we're gonna have a full playthrough at the end of this month for Cryo. Looks really rad. Yeah. And it's cool with the putting drones out, then bringing them back.
Yeah, it's fair. Remember the same people made like Energy Empire and stuff like that. That's a big thing. Like put stuff out and then bring it back.
And one of the people is from Whistle Mountain as well. So there's like always like when you bring your stuff back, all these things happen, which is a cool thing. I like. I want to see more of in games. Yeah. We also played Dinosaur Island.
We did play Dinosaur Island.
Big Dino Island.
Played it the other day on stream. Yeah, and
I like that game.
I do love Dinosaur Island. Yeah. I don't think I like the expansion. I think I've officially been like, you know what? I don't like the expansion. I think which is too bad.
The everything, the totally liquid expansion. We backed it way back when, and we got it. And I'm at this point where I don't hate it, but I could get rid of the entire expansion and be fine.
Yeah, be 100%.
There's nothing to it where I'm like, this makes the game great. I'm like, no, the game's already cool.
Like the water, you have the water dinosaurs, the water reptiles, because there are no water dinosaurs. Gonna actually us in the comments.
Technically this,
but nonetheless, the water creatures are so all over the place in terms of like. They're so all over the place. Where some like don't give you very many points or that much excitement, but they have like 4 threat. And then some, like Mike got one, which was, to be fair, difficult to make. You got a water dino that was difficult to make, took a lot of like advanced DNA.
Expensive. Yeah.
Very expensive, but gave him tons of points and had no threat attached to it.
Yeah, it was rad.
And we kind of did the calculations afterwards, and it was like, even though that one dinosaur was so hard to make, because it gave you no threat and so many points, it was so worth it for you to do. And it's just like, they seem just all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason to it, it feels like. And it just, depending on what dinosaurs come out, it just feels like a crapshoot with it. And I love the idea of it. I love the look of it. But like almost every part of that, of Totally Liquid, I could just be like, I could just not play with this. And honestly, I would be 100. Like the blueprints thing I like the most just because it gives you a bit of a guide and a way to get points. But it's like, but that's such a small thing, you know?
Yeah, it's like one of those things that like the executives kind of give you like a special type of dinosaur you might do.
Or a special power or whatever.
They're all cool. They're all cool, but none of it to me, I'm never like, oh, I gotta have this part in the game.
Yeah,
like, there's no part of it for us, and I know we're focusing on this expansion. Dinosaur Island itself is great.
It's great, yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm like, man, maybe I'm good with just the base game.
Yeah, I think I'm to the point where I'm like, I just want to play the base game at this point. Like every single time I played Totally Liquid, I've always been kind of disappointed with it, and more, I've just been like, you know what? I think I just want to play the base game.
Yeah, that's fair. I played yesterday morning a game of Dragon Castle. It was a Sunday morning.
Yeah,
it's like, man, we're trying to relax and stuff. I was like, I want to play some Dragon Castle.
Yeah,
and I got destroyed by Karen.
She's better than you.
She is. She really is.
She's smarter than you. Better than you.
I know.
Prettier than you.
I know. Yeah, bro. I know. You're telling me, man. But Dragon Castle is a fantastic game, kind of inspired off, not kind of, but very much inspired by Mahjong. And you're taking pieces from this kind of crumbling castle and rebuilding your own kind of shrines to the dragons and stuff using these Mahjong pieces that have different symbols on them. And it's super simple. Like on your turn, you can take one tile and add it to your little player board and take a shrine. You can take 2 tiles if you can find a match. You can discard a tile for points, or eventually you can start taking these tiles to kind of end the game. And you're trying to put together these groups of colors on your board in such a way that you can flip over a bunch of them all at the same time to get maximum points. You don't want to like flip over the 4 is the minimum.
Yeah.
But you don't want to try to like wait until you can do like 7 at once and then connect it all and have it all flip. So there's just like some cool, a little bit of push your luck with that. You're like, man, if I take them, but other people take my tiles, I might be stuck.
Yeah.
and you're kind of can start building up as you flip things over. You create kind of nice flat floor for things to build on top of that to put shrines up higher in the air. And it's just rad.
Yeah.
And it's a game that I was thinking like, man, this is just so fun and pretty. And like, we still have not to this point messed with the spirit
I know, really,
powers much.
Or the different setups. There's different setups for it too,
There's
for
like
different
kind of
player
all
counts.
this variability, and I'm like, man, this game will kind of keep on giving for some time. So Dragon Castle is just like,
it's so
awesome.
good. If you like little, just kind of like zen'd out games, chill games, it's really good.
It's just
really,
puts
and
me in
the
a good
production
mood.
quality is bananas.
Beautiful. We played Eco's First Continent.
I love Eco's First Continent, man. I love it so much. This is a game I feel like you and me just ringing this Ecos bell and no one else is. But man, I love it. John DeClaire Jam. John DeClaire is one of my favorite designers at this point. He's so good. And this is a game where you're building out a kind of a shared continent. There could either be like desert, kind of like grasslands, or water. And you're putting out these tiles, and you're essentially activating these cards. These cards do a whole bunch of different stuff. They can put out, again, more of those tiles. They can, like, switch stuff around. They can put out a whole bunch of different kinds of animals, from, like, elephants to, like, sharks and all this different kind of stuff.
Tons of stuff.
And there are a ton of different cards. They're all unique. They're all different. And they all do different stuff. But the cool thing is the way they activate is on the left side, they have a various amount of symbols. And whoever's the first player is the Harbinger, and they're just drawing these big chunky tiles out of this bag. And the tiles will have those symbols on them, and basically if you draw this symbol, you then can cover up one of those symbols on one of your cards. If you ever cover up all the symbols, you then get to activate that card and do whatever it says. It's going to give you points. Again, allows you to change the landscape. But it's cool because everyone's working on the same continent. So you might be trying to set stuff up in a way that's advantageous for you. And I'm like, oh, I need to put this tree, like the card might be like, put this tree down on a grasslands tile and it's worth 4 points if it's not adjacent to any other trees.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. But then on your turn, you go and put down 2 trees here and here. And now I'm like, now they're going to be adjacent to trees. I can't do that now.
So like, I want a bunch of trees together.
Exactly. And so you're just trying to do these things, and the cards can activate multiple times depending on how powerful they are. Yeah. And just with the sheer amount of variability in the game in terms of like there's so many cards, all of them are unique. There's so many different kinds of animals, and just the way your engine forms is so interesting.
All sorts of combos going.
And it's just a blast. And it's fun at 2. It's probably best at like 3 or 4. It can go up to 6. I probably wouldn't. We have before. It gets too long at that point.
Yeah.
But it's really, 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 really fun. And I think it's outstanding. And again, people just don't really talk to this game. It's unfortunate because it's great. And the production quality is great too.
It's fantastic. We played Fleet the Dice game. Still classic, still awesome,
good.
combo-tastic.
Yeah.
There's another game by the same people, which seems to be kind of a robust roll and write called Three Sisters.
Really?
I'm very excited for that because...
Is it out?
I don't think so. I don't think yet, but I think it's coming out, and I'm intrigued to find out more.
Robust roll and write?
Robust roll and writes are pretty cool, and Fleet the Dice game is cool, but like this one's about like making like gardens and farms in your backyard and stuff, and I'm like, that's great. That sounds awesome.
That sounds great.
So Fleet the Dice game is a roll and write version of Fleet, and still awesome, combo-tastic.
Like combos and roll and writes, get Fleet.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome for you.
It's incredible.
I played a game of Friday and won.
Did you really?
Yeah, I'm getting hecka good at it. I think in the last like several months I've won twice now.
Yeah, dude.
Pretty exciting.
You won when we did a marathon, right?
Yeah, I won during that too. So this is a solo game where you are playing as Friday and you are helping Robinson Crusoe, who's trying to survive on the island, and he's just not very smart or good at what he does.
Checks out.
So you are kind of the real hero behind the scenes, keeping him safe and helping him overcome. So it's all about kind of like maintaining life because you'll be basically flip over different challenges you have to help Robinson overcome. And you can draw cards which are going to give you a certain amount of successes at the start of your game. It's a deck building sort of game. You have a bunch of kind of weak cards, literally called weaker cards that give you -1 to your successes. And you're trying to hit these thresholds to then overcome these obstacles, which then flip over and become a card that Robinson can use, a good thing for Robinson. So it's all about like, it's a game of like, how many, like, what are acceptable losses here?
Right.
Because if I decide if I haven't succeeded at my goal, I can just choose to stop. And if the goal is to get to 2 and I'm at 1, I can choose to stop. I'll lose 1 life, which I can then use to kind of get rid of some of the bad cards. So it's like, how much am I willing to lose? But if I lose all my life, I die.
Yeah.
So it's this very much kind of this balancing act. And I think it's so fun. We have it, I have it in the app, we have it physically. It's just a rad solo game, solo little card game, kind of deck building game that's just tough, and I love it, really enjoy it. I played a game of Innovation on Board Game Arena.
How's that?
Ugliest thing of all time. Which
I've
is
heard
not
that.
a surprise. Like people, that's the thing about it. I think they wear their. It's just. I mean, it's before graphic design. I think was invented.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really gross looking, but it's this cool game. It's a Civ game. It's a Civ card game where you are kind of moving through eras and stuff and getting these different. It's all kind of different symbols and stuff, and based off the types of symbols you have on these cards, you'll create a tableau, which then give you access to all these things. I'm not going to lie, I was mostly clicking buttons because I don't really know what was going on. And it was a game that very quickly I was just like, I'm not doing so hot at this. But I did kind of pick it up as you go. It's one of those games that's like, you kind of just have to play it.
Yeah,
and
there's definitely games like that.
This stuff works, but there's like these cool things where you can basically slide these cards over and leave some of the icons face up because there's different colors, and basically you'll cover up sometimes old cards with newer cards as you're sort of progressing through the eras. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff to do. It can be pretty mean, like you can do a lot of take that, mess with each other's stuff, but it goes really quick, and it's on Board Game Arena, so it is, if you can get over the look, it's a fun game there.
Sometimes it's tough.
Even though I don't know much of what we did.
Yeah.
We played Isle of Cats Remote Edition.
We did play Isle of Cats Remote Edition.
Played with some patrons.
That's what it was. I was like, when did we play? We played it not with a. That's right. We played some games with our. It was during our game day.
Yeah, with our patrons game day.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Patreon powered game day.
Patreon powered. I was like, yeah. That's right. So we did a game day over on our Discord, and we played Isle of Cats Remote Edition, which I really, really love Isle of Cats in general. Yeah. But like Isle of Cats Remote Edition just works so darn well. Yeah. It just is really, really good, and I love that they just. The pandemic hit, and they're just like, hey, let's make this remote edition and kind of give it away for free. So as long as one person has it, you can play it over Zoom or Discord or Skype or whatever. And it just works. It kind of turns it into a roll and write. Yeah. And as long as one person has it and they can show what's available, they can just run the game, and everyone else can just do it. And it's
player sheet.
It feels a lot like Isle of Cats, but it's different enough where it's honestly a pretty different game while still being in that same kind of game
now
universe.
There's no card drafting or anything.
Yeah, but it really, really works to the point where I'm like, I like it basically as much as Isle of Cats, to the point now where I'm like, this is great because now we essentially have two versions of this game that I like pretty equally. So I'm like, cool, like, you want to play Isle of Cats or Isle of Cats Remote? I'm honestly down with either. They're both great,
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really fun. Isle of Cats is this weird game where it's like, I've played the actual normal version by far the least. I've played solo and remote edition much more.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Got a good solo version too.
The solo is arguably better than the base game, the normal game, so it's rad. I played a couple games of It's a Wonderful World.
That's right. You love this game now, huh?
Game Park. It's another one that's like this engine building game that I'm not great at. And this last game I did better and stuff, but you're just basically building up. You're trying to construct these cards and stuff, so it's kind of like a Civ future game. You're building up these cards, and if you can build them up using all these different color cubes that you produce, you'll have to kind of put them on, kind of like Ecos. There's all this stuff on the left side. If you get them all covered up, you've now built that card. Yeah. So it's this game where you're trying to construct all these buildings that are going to give you production each round. They might give you end game scoring and stuff, and you're just kind of quickly building up this little engine for yourself. It's super fast. It's 4 rounds, very quick. It's a card drafting game, ultimately. And so it's rad. Like for me, I don't mind Seven Wonders. Like we talked a lot about it. I think we're both fans of Seven Wonders Duel over Seven Wonders. It's a Wonderful World scratches the Seven Wonders itch, where it's a card drafting game. You can go up to like 7 players and stuff, but it's just fun and rad, and I really enjoy it. And you can produce all these different types of resources, and they produce in a specific order. It goes like white, black, I think yellow, green, blue, or something like that. And they're all different types. Like blue is a bunch of science and stuff like that. So it's kind of one of these things that's like, as you're drafting these cards, you should probably focus on going in a certain direction, because you might get a card that says like, for every of your yellow cards, your kind of commerce money cards, you'll get 3 points. You're like, cool, I'm going all money. All day. I'm going to try to build these very specific things. So it's cool. It just goes super quick. So I've really enjoyed it. There's a 2-player version coming out at some point this year or next year. So I'm like really curious about that, because that's the only problem with It's a Wonderful World. It's like you can play it 2-player, but ideally you play it at a higher player count, so there's more cards moving around.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
That's my only thing with that. But It's a Wonderful World is great. We played Keyflow. Speaking of drafting games.
Drafting games. We played Keyflow. We played it on stream. Keyflow is just great. I really, really, really enjoy it. This is kind of a success with Keyflower. It's very similar in terms of how the game plays, but it's card drafting instead of tiles and all kind of stuff. And it just works well. And a lot of people, the people who don't like it, they don't. A lot of times, if they like Keyflower or don't like Keyflower, they like it because it has no interaction really. But I like the fact that it has no interaction because I really like multiplayer solitaire games, and it's not mean at all. You can use each other's stuff like you can in Keyflower.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything
but you're not
away.
taking anything from them. And so, this is a game where you are building out your little realm, kingdom, whatever it is, and you're essentially trying to get these resources and then try to get these scoring cards, which then will call for different kinds of stuff. So. It might be like, oh, you need to put pairs of wood and stone on here. It's very, abstract-y, Euro stuff. But it's really, really fun. But the cool thing is you kind of have this big line. You have 2 rows of cards. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is like you can use your neighbor's cards on either side. So it's also one of those things, kind of like Seven Wonders or It's a Wonderful World, where the only thing that matters is your neighbors. So the cool thing is, like, if you are playing with like 6 people, it doesn't elongate the game too much because the only thing that matters is the people directly next to you. But it's cool because then you have these cards where these keeple cards, little meeple cards, where you put them above your rows, and then basically you can activate the card, you put it above it. But it can have arrows pointing to the left or to the right. And if you have one of those, you can instead activate something in your neighbor's little kingdom. And it's super cool because basically if you're not getting the cards you need, you can like, okay, well, I'll just use their card. And
you can make stone.
It doesn't hurt them. You're not taking away from them or anything like that. You just use their card, and it's really, really cool. It's got a ton of scoring in terms of like the scoring of the game is kind of intense because you have to min-max the whole thing, but it's really, really, really fun. And this is a game that like I like more and more and more every time we play it. It's made me not really want to play Keyflower ever again. And just like I love Keyflow. I just think it's incredible. I think it's really, really fun and really great. If you like multiplayer solitaire games, which I really, really do.
It's great. It's awesome, man. What else did we play? We played Clask. I played the worst game. I think I was cursed.
Did not play
I think I got hexed by a witch.
You might have gotten hexed. We played this the other day, actually, on stream. And
weird bad.
It was
I'm not
weird
great
bad.
at it at all, but like it was just like things are like what, like just God.
Yeah, weird bad. Weird bad.
Weird bad.
Like very, very weird bad. But Clask is like tabletop air hockey kind of thing.
So awesome.
It's way more fun than you think it's gonna be. It's really, really, really fun.
The bomb.
You basically just hit a ball trying to get into this goal. It's so much fun. I love Clask. It's the best.
It's fantastic. Check it out. It's just a good time. So I got a chance to play Lost Ruins of Arnock, and it's still super fun. Yeah. Super duper cool. This game is kind of deck building, worker placement. And you are kind of resource management, really. A lot of it comes down to you can discover new dig sites and stuff. You can overcome guardians. You can research and stuff. And it's one of those games that, like, well, very much still abstracted because you're just thinking about like what stuff gives you. It does make me feel kind of immersed in sort of the exploration theme because you can. I love the idea that you can basically discover a new site to dig at, which becomes like an action space that you can go to. But it's you don't know what you're gonna get.
No.
But and so that can be kind of like, oh man, what if it's something that's like, it's never gonna be horrible.
No, it's not gonna be bad.
Sometimes you have to get fear cards and stuff, and I'm like, well, that's thematic because he's like, you don't know what you're going to discover. You're discovering stuff, and I'm like, that's so cool to me. And the fact that you can get these like specialists and stuff. Then as you go through the game, in the early game, there's a bunch of different items you can buy using your money, which then go shuffled into your deck. To be pulled out later. And then there's these artifacts. And as you go into the game, there's more and more artifacts that are available in the market and fewer items because you're getting further away from civilization, essentially, and you're finding more and more stuff. So it has this really good flow and progression to it that just feels really rad and thematic.
Yeah.
So Lost Ruins of Arnock is just great. I can't wait to get it physically at some point. I know it's kind of gone like hotcakes.
I want that.
But yeah, it's really super duper fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Another game that Karen and I have been into playing lately is Mandala Stones.
Yeah.
Which is a game that's upcoming very soon here. We're actually going to be doing a sponsor stream of it this month.
Yeah.
For Board and Dice. And it's this cool,
I love Mandala Stones.
abstract, beautiful game where you're picking up these, mandala stones, essentially, these little colored tiles. And you are putting them onto, in stacks, essentially, onto your little player board. And so on a turn, you can collect some stones, basically taking a color and following, or not just a color, but following a pattern, rather.
Yeah.
And taking that, if you put your artist down around your artist, following a pattern, and then you can score based off of color. So if you have like 3 or 4 of your stacks have yellow on the top, you can score yellow and pull all the stones off those colors, and each stack basically will score slightly differently.
Yeah.
Most of them, it's like, depending on where, between 1 and 4, where the stone you're pulling from is in the stack, if it's the second level, essentially, it might be worth 1 point or 4 points, depending. So certain stacks you want to have super big, certain stacks you want to keep super small. The sack on the very right just wants to have a ton of different colors on it and stuff. So it gives these like really interesting things. And you can sort of sequence stuff where now, ideally, if I pull off all my yellows to score, now the new stuff that I've revealed is also the same one color. So you can kind of pull off these chains. And it's just an interesting, fun.
It really is. If you like those kind of, if you like those beautiful abstract games, Dragon Castle, Azul, those kind of things, it doesn't play like those, but it's in the same vein in terms of how it looks.
Scratches a similar itch.
And it's really good. It might be my favorite of them all. It's really, really, really fun. And just, again, relaxed, but like very tactical and very like, it's a tough little puzzle, but it's really, really fun,
Yeah, it's super rad. I got a chance to play Marvel Champions.
That's right.
The card game, which I had all these plans to play like a bunch this year, but then not being able to see people hampers that.
I heard that a little bit.
But I had a chance to play it again, and I played as Miss Marvel, which was rad.
Yeah.
It was so fun. This is a game that like I really do understand why people are so into Marvel Champions, and it's been super well supported, obviously, with no end in sight. Like, there's a ton more stuff coming out for it. Fantasy Flight be Fantasy Flying.
They do what they do.
But it's really cool because you just get to be in the Marvel world.
Yeah, I want to try it. I never have.
It's so fun, man, because you have this thing where you get to basically flip between your character's like hero side and their alter ego side. And you'll want to switch to your alter ego to basically recover your health and stuff, and then you flip to your hero mode to go and bash and fight and stuff, and you're putting out these cards, and it's sort of, they all work a little bit differently. They all do different things, so it's kind of the Empires of the North, your different faction. You kind of want to work each character's engine the way that they're meant to work, and they work really thematically.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing Iron Man, you need to assemble all the parts of your armor first. You have to make your suit. And I'm like, that's rad. That's super cool. Like Black Panther, you get a ton of cool technologies and stuff. Then you can play these Wakanda Forever cards that basically trigger like this really cool stuff. And I'm like, all of it feels very satisfying to like what that character is.
I'd like to try it. It's never a game that I think I'd get so into that I'd want to buy it for myself, but like I do want to try it at least. Yeah,
it's so fun. We played some Merv, part of the Silk Road.
I love Merv.
Me too.
Merv is great. It's really
digging
good.
it, man.
Yeah, I really dig Merv a lot. Merv is it's a really cool kind of action selection system where you have this series of tiles in the middle of the board. There are 25. 25. Yeah, 25. And it's basically, when on your turn, you're basically on the top of the square. On the top square, so you basically choose where you want to go, and then you can activate one of the buildings in that column or that row, depending on what side you're on. And you can activate a building, but then you get to activate all of the same color of buildings that are on there. So if you have a bunch of those, you can activate all those. You essentially get more resources. But then whatever action you decide to do, that's the action you're actually doing, but you're mostly going to use a resource that you gather from the similar color of buildings to then do that action. So you kind of want to set up a really, really good row or column, and then you just get to do different stuff. There's like 4 or 5 different things you can do. There's like a caravan track. You can like go and try to get goods to fulfill contracts. You can move up the mosque track. There's a whole bunch of different areas that you can work in, and all of them are very viable strategies. Every single time we've played this, I've been like, you know what, I'm going to do a different thing this time. Like this time, I'm going to focus on caravans. This time, I'm going to focus on the mosque track. This time, I'm going to focus on this. And every single time, I may not have won every single time, but like it wasn't like I got blown out because, oh, that strategy doesn't work. They all work fine. And it's one of those things, and you can kind of do a dabble of a whole bunch of them, and it's so cool. And it's got tool art. I think it's his best art. I think it's his best look of anything he's ever done. And it is so much fun. I think it's a really, really good game that's got just every part of it is interesting and works well and smoothly. It's just great. It's awesome.
Super duper cool. I lost my spot. Nick, we played Nations of the Dice game.
We did play a quick game of Nations of the Dice game.
It's awesome. I enjoy it. I still, to this day, would love to play Nations. I don't know when that'll happen. I don't know anyone who owns it, but I know we could. Nations of the Dice game is a fantastic quick version that you can play on like Tabletopia, and it's just this cool like put your dice out to build your Civ by getting new tiles, which might give you better versions of dice. They might give you more tokens you can use, and the tokens will have different things like stone and gold. You can build wonders of the world, but it's just all very just boiled down to its simplest parts. And you play like 4 quick rounds. It's crazy fast.
Super fast,
Super kind of fun filler game, but it has all that theming of like a Civ game, so it's kind of satisfying in that way, but while being very very chill.
Yeah.
Nation's Ice game is just super fun, especially with the Unrest expansion where you get some asymmetrical player boards. So now each nation is a little bit different than other ones. You might have more dice or less dice. You can have a spot for 2 different wonders you can work on at once. So it gives you just a little bit of asymmetry for you to explore, which
it's
is
really fun though. It's a great little quick game.
Yeah, we played Numbernine.
We did play Numbernine the other day. We had a little bit more time on the stream, so we're like, let's play quick game Numbernine, and it's great. I'm still real bad at it.
Yeah,
but this is a game where you are everyone plays together. You draw a card. The card will be one of the numbers 0 through 9 rather, and there'll be like these little polygonal tile shapes that you then are putting down on the table, and then you're basically putting them together and then stacking them on top, and the higher you can stack the numbers, the better. Everything that's on the table level is worth 0 points, no matter what number it is. Everything on the first, or the second level rather, is worth its value. So if you put a 7 on the second level, it's worth 7 points.
Right.
But then on the third level, anything you put on there is worth double their points.
Yeah.
And then so on and so forth. But the thing is when you put stuff on a higher up level, it can't overhang anything. It can't.
It has to be on top of at least 2 different tiles.
Exactly. So you have limitations, and it's so simple in terms of how you play, and it works so well. But it's really difficult because you really want to get, especially like your number 9s, the number 9, you want them as high as possible because like if you can get it on like the 3rd floor, it's worth 18 points. Then you're like, oh man, that's awesome. And so it's one of those things where it's like it's a very tough little puzzle, but is ultra simple. It just works, and it's nice because if you have the game, you can play it remotely because as long as everyone has the game, everyone's flipping over the same card. So one person flips over the card, and everyone. We've played giant games of this at conventions before because
like you flip over 2, it's like okay, everyone grab your 2 and place it down. Every number will be drawn twice, and that's the other thing that's fun is you don't know the order of stuff.
No.
So you could want your 9s in the air, but what if the first 2 cards you draw are 9s? Well, those are gone now.
They're going around. So
you gotta make do with what you get.
Yeah, but it's really, really, really fun.
It's awesome. It's so fun. We played Paladins of the West Kingdom, Nick, with the City of Crowns expansion.
We did.
Which I'm really enjoying.
I like the City of Crowns expansion.
It beefs it up. It beefs up the game, which is like you're taking a game that already has a lot to think about and adding to it, but it also gives you opportunities.
It does.
Which make things a little bit easier.
Well, see, that's one thing I like about the game is
it's interesting the way it works.
It adds stuff, but Paladins is a big game, so it's one of those things where I don't add too much to it because then it becomes too much. But some of the stuff you're doing just allows you to do things you can already do in the game. It just gives you another way to do them.
Yes.
Like you go here and you can do the Fortify action or you can do the Absolve action, something like that. It gives you another and almost better way of doing it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't... It's not just completely all new stuff, because that's one thing that worries me with the game that size. If you add a whole bunch of completely new stuff, I'm just going to be like, this is too much.
Yeah.
This game's already so much that but this one toes that line well, and so I still really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I think it's just really fun. I think it's worth checking out. It creates opportunity while also creating more stuff to think about. So it makes it easy,
and you
makes it harder, and
it's not so much. It's not like it's now. This is that you got to do this. You're gonna win. But the last time we played, when we played on stream, I basically didn't do it at all. Yeah, and I
think you won.
I think I won that game. Yeah. So it's nice because now it's just another thing you can do where you're like, I can also just not do that, and you're fine, and it's great.
That's kind of like the best thing you could do is create something where it's like, if you don't deal with this, you're gonna be.
It's 100% fine.
Yeah. Nick, we played Point Salad.
We did another little filler.
Super fun.
We played it all artichokes because we're on a little food kick.
We're kind of on a food kick.
Talking about a filler of all fillers. That's Point Salad.
Yeah, it's going to fill you up with veggies. It's going to be delicious. It's a straight up set collection game. You're trying to collect these sets of different vegetables and stuff. And every card is double sided. One shows a vegetable, and the back side of that is a scoring opportunity. So you can draw scoring cards, or you can take vegetables and stuff. And you take a scoring card. It's like, cool. All my carrots now give me 2 points. Or if I get 3 onions, it's 8, or whatever it might be. And there's all sorts of different things. And you're just trying to collect vegetables to satisfy these different scoring cards, and it goes crazy fast.
Yeah.
And it's easy. Like everything, you just like look at these things. It tells you exactly what you need to get points. Everything is just icons, and there's not many icons at all.
No.
So it's super accessible.
Yeah.
Super really simple. Fantastic game. Love Point Salad.
Jump cut.
Remember how the sound got better all of a sudden? Who knew?
Whoa.
We also played QE.
We did. We played with a bunch of our friends online. It was great.
It's awesome. It's just a big auctioning game.
Auctioning game where you're trying to buy different kinds of like industry. You're like a nation and you're bailing out stuff. It's very fun, but it's one of those games where you can bid whatever you want. You can build $17 billion.
You're printing money.
You're printing money. You can do whatever you want. But the cool thing is if you spend the most money at the end of the game, you automatically lose. Yeah, I super did.
Oh yeah.
By like $1 billion. It was insane how much money I spent during that game. So it's one of the things you have to toe that line a little bit, and I always love that in auction games where you can't spend too much because then you lose them automatically.
You do want to spend a lot.
You do. It's really, really fun. Kiwi, if you like those kinds of games, check it out. It's great.
Super duper fun. We played Quest for El Dorado.
We did. We finally played the expansion, which is fun.
Which has curses and heroes and things you can get.
There's like even like another expansion or another version of the game now or something like that.
There's so much. But Quest for El Dorado is a fantastic racing game by Rainer Knizia where it's just kind of sweet, easy to understand deck building.
Yeah.
You're trying to make your way through different landscapes, jungles, and markets and things to ultimately get to El Dorado. And the expansion stuff adds these curses, which basically gunk up your deck. You get these heroes, which are like super powerful.
Yeah.
And you get like a familiar to start the game. So you actually get one different card than your opponents to start the game, which is like a great little thing.
And now I'm kind of like, cool, just always play the expansion.
Always.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, always play the expansion.
Because it's not like crazy.
No,
it very much is still an accessible
just always
game.
play the expansion. It's great.
We played Railroad Inc. Deep Blue Edition during our game day
during our game day.
I hadn't played Railroad Inc. in a while.
It's been a while, and it's still great.
Yeah.
It's
Nick
really
was leading
great.
that one, and I quietly played alongside.
Yeah, this is a game where you are rolling out these 4 die. The 4 die have a different shapes of railroads or highways, and you're essentially making a network. You want to try and connect stuff to the edge of the map as much as possible. Yeah. But it's like you roll out 4 dice. Everyone has to put those 4 dice faces in their board, and so you're at the mercy of the dice, and you have to try and make it work. But it's great because this is a game where an infinite amount of people can play because it's on Tabletopia, and so what we'll do is we'll run the game, and then everyone else can just pull it up on Tabletopia. Yeah. We roll the dice, and they just follow those dice. You could literally play with an infinite amount of people. They didn't even have to print it out. But it's really fun. It's the epitome of like the kind of like, please just roll. Just please roll this exact thing. And of course they don't. You're just like, oh no, you didn't roll it. I needed that.
I'm in trouble now.
And it's really, really fun. If you like those kinds of like stressful roll rides, it's really good.
It's awesome. We played Rajas of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers, which has been kind of a go-to roll and write, fill some time game for us.
Maybe the best one ever. Who knows? It may be.
It's hard, man. I don't know. It's hard to beat because it's combo-tastic, kind of like we were talking about. Fleet is combo-tastic, and it's based off of Rajas of the Ganges, which is just one of our favorite games, and it does a good job of like being Rajas of the Ganges while also being its own thing.
Which is what you want out of something like that.
It's so fun. At least for right now, it's our go-to roll and write because it's just got all the combos and it's awesome. There's 2 different types of boards you can play that are ever so slightly different. So there's a little bit of variety there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Love it. I got a chance to play some Sonora.
Oh, you did?
Which is a fantastic
I almost just played that
right game.
Oh,
it's so fun. Good. So this is by Pandasaurus Games. This is a game that kind of has a crokinole element to it where you're flicking discs.
It's a croak and write, as you say.
It's a croak and write. So you have 4 different areas of this little board where you're flicking discs onto. Then wherever your discs wind up, you will then use them for these different 4 kind of puzzles you're working on your player board. And one of them, you're just trying to get a bunch of little things ticked off to create these groups. Another one, you're creating kind of like Tetris shapes to surround cacti. Another one will give you the ability to kind of mark off these little centers and stuff, which will create pathways between them. If you create like a little triangle of 3 points of pathway will be collected against surrounding cacti. And then the final one, you're working down these different trails. And so there's like all this stuff to do, very combo-tastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you get like a high score because you can do all these different things, so it feels very satisfying to play.
It is,
and if you don't win, I'm like, I did a bunch of stuff.
It's just a cool, innovative take on the roll and write genre, where it's like, hey, now, like, it basically is like the roll and write. You need to put this stuff on your board. So what's the way? You can either flip over cards, you can roll dice. There's a couple different ways you can do it. And someone's like, how about you flick? And it's like, that's so fun and cool.
Kind of skill.
Oh, for sure. And it's just such a cool take on the roll and write system. It's really good. I also really like the look of it too.
Yeah. We played Tidal Blades again.
We did. Listen to
This is a turning point for us.
It really was. We played this way back when it was on Kickstarter years ago. Yeah. And then we finally got it and we played it and we were kind of like, I don't know if I really liked that. I was kind of on it, honestly. And then we played it again the other day, and we played it with the tryouts, which basically just adds another round to it, which definitely always do. The game is too short otherwise. And this is the kind of game, I can't remember what game you were talking about earlier, but you were talking about like it's a game where you have to play it a couple of times to really figure it out, to really be like, okay, this is how you start working it. But since now that we are familiar with it and we played with another round, I really feel like I was able to do stuff, and I really liked it then.
Yeah, that was a huge
really liked it. But you kind of got to feel the game out first, and it does take a little bit to kind of learn to make it work.
Sneaky hard.
Yeah, like, sneaky hard, yeah.
There's a lot of like
the management
of dice and stuff. Tough. And so like in the first game that we played when we first got our Kickstarter pledge, we like did not do dice management stuff well at all. So like in the last round, I think like I had 0 dice.
Yes.
I was like, I can't do anything this whole last round. I can't.
And this is where you're supposed to be able to do the most.
Yeah, it's like, and so like, but that was partially like player error where I didn't realize like
learning
a way to work it. So now that we're kind of there, I'm like, oh, now I really see a lot of the upside here. So Tidal Blades, I'm really excited to play again now that we're here.
Yeah.
And there's more to explore with like legendary competitions.
Yeah,
and
which
stuff.
is super. I really liked it the second time around. Yeah.
I played a game of Underwater Cities on Yucata, which is another kind of a German board game arena. It was interesting because the game...
There's no board?
There's no board. Like, it's all abstract. You just have, like, the list, essentially, of, like, action spaces. And so, for whatever reason, the fact that it was removed from where those spaces would be on the physical board, it was hard to, like, envision. I was like, what am I doing? I don't even...
Why am I
here? It all worked well.
Yeah.
But it was just not what I was expecting things to look like, and it threw me off.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't my best game of it, but Underwater Cities remains a fantastic game that I quite like. I
like it a lot.
It's fantastic. So check it out on there, but just know it's different. It looks different.
It looks a little different.
We played Unmatched Battle of Legends.
That's right. It's great.
Fantastic.
It's still insanely good.
Still rad. Just smacking people around.
Yeah, it's each person chooses a hero. There's like 18 to choose from at this point.
So many.
Choose a map and you go head to head trying to kill the other person's hero, and everyone is very different. Every deck feels very different. You're playing very differently. The maps are all different, and now it's like just so much like just somehow find a way to randomly choose a hero, randomize it, randomly choose a board, and just go. And it's just and it's short too. The game is like 20-30 minutes like tops for the most part. And it's just this is a system that, like, despite the fact that we are sponsored by Restoration Games, it's a system that like is so well done, is so accessible, so good. And then the art, it's got the best art, I think, of any other series, any other game. It's just so well done from top to bottom that, like, man, I think they're just gonna, they just announced like 3 Marvel sets. On top of, I think it's like maybe four Marvel sets,
3
plus
packs.
the next Battle of Legends Volume 2, plus there's like another Jurassic Park set. All this stuff's been announced, and I'm like, man, they're just gonna do this forever.
They won't even tell us about it.
And there's a ton of stuff I'm sure we don't know about, and it's like all this stuff, and I'm like, man, y'all are gonna ride this into the sunset, and you should, because it's great. It's really fun.
Yeah. I got a chance rather to play Viscounts of the West Kingdom again, which I really continue to really enjoy. It's my favorite of the West Kingdom trilogy still. Even I think the expansion of Paladins kind of went and murkied the water a little bit, but like Viscounts, once you get going, just that streamline, it's just ever so slightly slicker than Paladins of the West Kingdom. And because of that, you can get into this flow where the turns go pretty fast and stuff, and I'm like, I love it. I really love the pacing of it. Viscounts is rad. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at really any West Kingdom game, but it doesn't matter because I like them anyway. They're just so fun to play. We played War of the Ring. We're like monthly War of the Ring players now.
We did. There will be a Game House at Home episode of that. So a Game House where we do full playthroughs. We decided to do that one here at home just because it's so big and we can control the environment a little better.
So hard.
And so there'll be a full playthrough video of that on our channel sometime this month. But yeah, we've just been playing it more often to the point now where like we know the rules.
It's awesome.
And
we
man,
know how to play.
We've always know we liked the game, but the fact we've played like 4 times in the last like number of months, it's just been, and it will probably at this point take a little bit of a break from it for a while. But man, it's just fun. It's so fun. If you love big war games like that and you love Lord of the Rings, you have to try it. It is just so fun and satisfying to play. And we won't spoil it, but one of us won.
Who
wasn't
indeed?
Mike or me.
Put your predictions down.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
but War of the Rings
Treebeard.
is incredible. It's insanely good.
The last game I played during our game day was Welcome 2, which
That's right.
which I haven't played in a while.
Wow.
But it's just real fun. You're building a nice little suburb for your town. And it's kind of it's a beefy roll and write where it's got kind of a lot of stuff.
It's been a minute since I played Welcome 2.
It's fun, man. I hadn't played in a while.
Yeah.
I was like, I should try it. And I played. I'm like, this game's great.
Yeah, it's
just fun. It's an awesome roll and write, flip and fill game. And then finally, I got a chance to play this. I got a chance to play Zapotec.
That's right.
With Rainer from Board and Dice. It's the Board and Dice game that's coming out at the end of the year.
Way later.
So it's a ways off yet, but it's a really cool game that for a Board and Dice game is very much on the lighter
Yeah, it's
or at least
quicker, right? Yeah.
side. You can do some pretty cool, tricky stuff with it, but it's very much quicker than a lot of their other offerings. And it's cool. There's a lot of really interesting stuff because you're basically going to be doing a bunch of building. You're going to be putting buildings onto this little player board, which will sort of do a bit of engine building for you because now if you activate rows and columns on your player board, you can get additional resources and stuff to fuel future building. But there's this cool kind of card drafting system where basically you're going to play a card, you're going to take a card at the end of your turn, and once everyone in that round has taken their turn, there'll be one card that's left over.
Yeah.
And that leftover card is going to go onto the main board, and that's basically going to be the bonus scoring for the following round. So there's definitely a lot of potential for like kind of hate drafting or whatever. It's like, I'm going to take this card because they're way more built up in that area, and if this card is the one that's left over, they're getting a ton more points than me. So I'm going to take this card so I can make sure that that this thing over here, which will help me, gets to be the bonus card. So there's kind of that denial there, and the cards are kind of multi-use. They're going to tell you the type of like row or column on your player board you're going to activate. They'll tell you where you can build stuff because there's basically these 3 different statues you can build around. So the card might have that, which means you can build anywhere, but it has to be in that corner of the board, or it might be in a land type like forest. So it can be anywhere on the board so long as it's one of the forest spots. So there's all these kind of like little things, but it's just quick and easy. And it goes fast, and I'm really excited to play it again. So that's again coming out the end of the year, Zapotec. But yeah, so that is super
There's actually one more game I forgot to put on there because talking about the game day, I played Cartographers during the game day. We played games we could play with people, and so I played Cartographers. Cartographers, it's probably still my favorite roll and write. That and Roger the Ganges are fighting it out right now. But it's a great flip and fill roll and write that, I mean, the game's blown up. People love Cartographers, and I think it's rightfully so. You're building out a map, polyomino shapes, so much fun. I really, really like it. So yeah, I forgot, we mentioned things, I was like, oh, I forgot to put it on there. Like I played Cartographers during our little game day. Yeah,
bonus game for you and for everyone. Speaking of game days and Patreon, Nick, we have a Patreon.
We do.
We have many fantastic patrons out there. In fact, we had, I think, 5, was it?
We had 5, yeah.
So 5 new patrons this month.
We always, at the end of every Rapid Review, shout out to new patrons because this is kind of like the last month. So we'll shout out last month's new patrons.
Hey,
Sue, we got Joseph, we got Arthur, we got Justine, we got Daniel, we got Sweet Pluto.
Sweet Pluto.
So those are our new patrons. Thank you so much. We actually have kind of revamped our Patreon lately, and we're putting videos directly on Patreon now. They're all free, so even if you don't want to support us or can't support us, they're still there. We've been doing like What's on the Shelves, which used to live on our channel. We're doing cribbage chats, things like that we don't necessarily want on our channel here, but we want them to be somewhere because we enjoy doing them. And so they're going to live over there. Again, they're completely free. They're not behind a paywall. We just don't want them to live here, but we still want them to live somewhere. So they're going to live on Patreon instead. So make sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thebrothersmurph. And if you feel like throwing dollars at our faces, please feel free to do that as well. But thank you so much to our new patrons, 5 new patrons. We really, really appreciate it. The support that people have given us has always been overwhelming, especially in like a pandemic year. And people have still supported us and stuff, and it's been, again, you make it so we can do stuff like this, and it's exciting, and we have a lot of stuff coming out this year that we're so excited for, and just like, it's gonna be a wild year, fam, and a lot of that
cool stuff going on.
Yeah, the fact that we can do a lot of it is because people watch us at all and support us on places like Patreon or something like that. And so thank you so much to our new patrons and to our old patrons and to everyone who just watches this anyway. Boom. And that's it, right? Kind of rapid reviews.
Rapid-ish reviews. We had like a 40 and almost 50 games.
Yeah, for a short month, it was a good month.
A lot to get through. It's pretty good for the shortest month of the year.
Let us know what your favorite game you played last month in February down in the comments below. Let us know. So it's man, it's just good stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. We'll see y'all in the next one, and until next time, I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Mike, what videos are over there?
Oh snap, man! There's this one that's
just
really
put it on you.
Cool,
I'm just gonna put this on you,
and it features the Brothers Murph.
It features the Brothers Murph.
Wow.
Let's throw our marathon video up there because screw it, I'm gonna keep pushing it. And then down there is some that YouTube thinks you'll like. Trust the robots or don't. Make sure to like and subscribe while you're here. Share this video around and let us know down in the comments again your favorite game of last month. We really appreciate it, and you. You're wonderful and you're beautiful. We love you.